The New York Times, one of the most accurate pollsters in the country, just released a new poll showing Donald Trump winning the national popular vote. On top of that, we had 88 corporate leaders, including CEOs, endorsing Kamala Harris. Meanwhile, you have The Rock and Elton John actually saying something nice about Donald Trump. What in the world is going on? We're going to get into all of that and much more in today's video, but first, we turn to Pittsburgh, where Kamala Harris is currently prepping for the upcoming presidential debate. She took a break and she went to a spice shop and she was greeted organically by the press.
Are you ready to face Donald Trump?
Yes, I am. Yes.
Best part of debate prep for you? What's your favorite?
Being at the spice store, I finally got out of the debate prep to look at these spices. Best part of debate prep so far.
Okay, for those of you who missed the question, the reporter asked, what is the best part of debate prep so far for you? And Kamala said, being at the spice store, and she did her signature laugh. Now, a lot of people on the right I've seen online are criticizing Kamala and saying, why is she turning everything into a joke? Why isn't she being serious about this? And I would like to ask something else. What if she is being serious? What if this actually is the best part of her debate prep? Because personally, I don't think she's a serious candidate. I think she's uniquely unqualified. And look, I want to stay with the news mostly on this video, so I'm not going to go into my tangent and my analysis on that, but I'm just saying, what if she actually is serious? And that was a serious answer, and, you know, she laughed because she realized that she gave away the game, you know, and she has the press to cover up for her. But NBC recently released, immediately after that encounter, some details about Kamala's debate prep, and it's really embarrassing for Kamala's campaign. According to NBC, Harris is preparing for potential volatile moments in her first debate against Trump. Now, that headline itself is really suspect because, to our knowledge so far, there's only going to be one debate. Of course, there are usually three, and there were talks of maybe being two debates this season, but Kamala obviously is trying to avoid scrutiny. She avoided until last week sitting down with the press for an interview. In fact, she still hasn't done a single one-on-one interview. So it's interesting that NBC said first debate as if there are going to be more. Now, the details they revealed really highlight how dysfunctional and just what a joke Harris's campaign is. Look at this. Harris has been devising ways to weave her biography into her answers to try to introduce herself to Americans who may not know much about how she grew up or her career before she ascended to the vice presidency, the sources said. They said she's even strategized how to approach possibly shaking hands with Trump on stage. Is that not insane? She is so fake. She is so unnatural. She is so bad at politics that they're trying to war plan, map out, strategize how she's going to shake hands with her debate opponent. I mean, do you shake with your right hand? Do you shake with your left hand? Do you cover the other hand? Do you shake hands and cross your finger? Like, how do you strategize that? Do you fist bump? I mean, we are on the precipice, potentially, of World War III. You have Ukraine and Russia. You have the Middle East. You have China. And they're worried about this. So serious, so joyful, so demure. But it's not just the handshake. Part of the intense focus on preparation also derives from the belief among some of Harris's aides that Trump had a better than average performance in his June debate with Joe Biden. And then let's skip down to that last paragraph. My anxiety is just high because my fear is that they'll overcook her, the source said of Harris. So you see them planting the seeds already, right? If Harris bombs at this next debate, it'll be, oh, she just overprepared. She was overcooked like the chicken she is. You know, they tried to jam her brain with all these facts and numbers and statistics and, you know, what she needs to know about current events and world affairs and foreign relations and internal issues within the United States. And, you know, if she falters, she was just overcooked like a chicken. They're planting the seeds already. They know this is going bad. So that right there, I think, is an indication of how debate prep is actually going, another thing. But Harris is also preparing for a variety of potential unscripted and perhaps history-making moments, including the possibility that Trump makes derogatory comments about her, according to the sources familiar with her preparation, some of whom are directly involved, so this is coming directly from Harris's camp. It's not beyond the pale that he will mumble this B word, one of the sources said. That's not unreasonable to assume. You have to be prepared for anything. First of all, crazy assumption. Second of all, Trump's campaign person said it best. As for comment on this story, Trump campaign spokesperson Stephen Chung said, "Why are they even thinking about that word associated with her?" Seriously. Trump hasn't gone on a stump speech. Trump has done how many at this point? 48 interviews in the last month, in podcast interviews, media interviews, press conferences, and then all the campaign rallies, which he is famous for going off teleprompter. Has he ever once, in any of those situations, referred to her as, quote, this bee? I mean, the Clinton-Trump campaign in 2016, my opinion, my analysis, my commentary was much more aggressive than this because Hillary Clinton was actually campaigning against Trump. Right now, Kamala Harris is playing chicken and she's hiding. Maybe that's why they use the overcooked analogy, because they subliminally and subconsciously understand that she is a chicken. But 2016 was a tough fight because Hillary Clinton was actually fighting. Kamala Harris isn't fighting at all. So Trump never used the B word against Hillary Clinton. Why, again, why do they think that Trump would use that against Kamala Harris? What do they know that the rest of us don't know? Don't forget, she had a high turnover on her staff. I think out of, someone please fact check me if I'm wrong, this is off the top of my head, but I think out of her 98 staffers as vice president, 92 of them have turned over, 92 of them have quit because she was so toxic, because she was so condescending, demeaning. She has a culture of chaos in her office. There is now a book out from former aides, written by former aides, talking about how not only is she terrible to work for, but they all agree that she's unqualified to be president of the United States. So just very interesting insights from campaign prep from Harris headquarters. Now, what's really interesting is that when we got news of the debate prep, we also got news of all these endorsements coming in from CNBC. 88 corporate leaders endorse Harris in a new letter, including CEOs of Yelp and Box. Now, Democrats claim that they're for the middle class, they're for the lower class, they're for the everyday American people. Well, is it really a great endorsement if CEOs who make millions and tens of millions of dollars a year endorse you? I mean, what kind of don't get me wrong, I think we need to be pro-business. We want to bring business back to the States. We want the business sector to thrive, of course. But it's just interesting that the CEOs of all these mega corporations, who live much more luxuriously than their workers, are endorsing Kamala Harris. Quite frankly, I don't think that's a good look for her campaign. But on the other hand, you had The Rock saying something nice about Donald Trump. I found this clip online. They added the captions, the subtitles. They are inaccurate. I just wanted to make that clear because I did not add that. But take a look at what The Rock had to say about Trump. Now, keep in mind, this wasn't an endorsement, but something interesting happened. We'll talk about it after.
Trump used to come watch you wrestle all the time, Madison Square Garden. It was great. First time I saw him, I said, "Let me see the eyebrows." Got it, there it is. That's cool. So he was a fan. He watched you as a fan. Oh, yeah. That's cool. He used to come to Madison Square Garden all the time. Big spoilers. Whether you love Donald, you don't love Donald, it doesn't matter. Tried to assassinate him. There's no room for that. And yes, despite it being who we were in that moment, I still believe in my core that is not who we are as a country. So, him standing up in that moment, you wanted to see that.
The Rock is 100% right. And what's really interesting is there was a time, I'd say as recently as last year, where it would have been career suicide to say something nice about former President Donald Trump. Not even endorse him, just to even acknowledge his humanity. And that's what The Rock did. Now, we don't know how The Rock is going to vote. He hasn't endorsed anyone, but I did find that interesting. There is a tone shift happening, a vibe shift, as the left would say. And that same thing happened with Elton John. Now, apparently, Donald Trump signed, I think, well, let's just go through this clip, actually.
I know that you're not a supporter of Donald Trump's. He loves your music. How did it feel when he took the lyrics to Rocket Man and he used it as a nickname for Kim Jong-un, and then he gave Kim Jong-un
I laughed. I thought it was brilliant. I just thought, good on you, Donald. I'm the Rocket Man, yeah. Donald's always been a fan of mine, and he's been to my concerts many, many times. So, I've always been friendly towards him, and I thank him for his support. Yeah, when he did that, I just thought it was hilarious. It made me laugh.
Compare that to, Oprah Winfrey, who obviously Oprah and Trump were fans, and now Oprah is just openly stabbing Trump in the back. Again, a vibe shift going on in Hollywood. Elton John likely not voting for Trump, but very interesting.
Gave Kim one of your CDs and signed it. That was in one of the books about him, because Kim, I guess, didn't know the song. So,
what's that?
He gave Kim Jong-un the signed CD.
Yes.
Which
yeah.
he never heard of it.
I know, because he hasn't heard of me. Kim Jong-un.
So again, really interesting. I think there is a vibe shift, and if all these celebrities are willing to talk out, it means Trump's brand is less toxic than it was once considered, even in these deep blue states. And that leads me to the last topic of today. The New York Times has released a brand new poll. Trump and Harris neck and neck after summer upheaval. Keep in mind, this is pretty much, after the DNC no post-convention bounce, Times Siena poll finds. And what does it say? Trump is leading in the national popular vote polling, 48 to 47%. Now, for those of you keeping track, this is a 4-point swing in the New York Times towards President Trump. So he's beating Kamala Harris in the national popular vote. Of course, the popular vote doesn't determine who wins, but if a Republican wins the popular vote, they're likely going to win the Electoral College in the landslide. Here's why this is so interesting. Now, a lot of people ask, Daniel, why do you always cite CNN? Why do you take a look at MSNBC? Why? I can take my news sources from a wide range of outlets, and I prefer to do that because I don't want to be in a media bubble. I can decipher what I think is true for myself. And here's the thing. If something that has a liberal bias, which I'm about to show you, is saying that there's good news for Trump, then the reality is probably even better. So here's the grading of the top polls in the nation. So you can see the New York Times is the second best poll. They have an A+. Now, take a look at their bias. The New York Times historically has a bias of overestimating the Democrats by 1 percentage point. Now, the way these polls are graded are based on transparency, how they, whether or not you can see the crosstabs, their methodology, so making sure that the grouping, the sample sizes are as close to possible, as accurate to possible, and then accuracy. What's their historical accuracy? So this news coming from the New York Times, yes, even though they lean Democrat, if it shows Trump ahead by 1, then according to that data, Trump is actually ahead by 2. Nate Silver has already used this poll in his probability, and that brings Trump to his highest probability rating yet, 63.8% probability of winning the election compared to Harris, who's now at 36. And what does that mean? So in yesterday's video, I said that Nate Silver was predicting Trump would get 278. So I think off the top of my head, 277.9, and I rounded it up to 278 electoral votes. Well, as of today, he's increased that. Trump at 281 electoral votes. And he's bumped up the probability of Trump winning the popular vote share. Now, let's compare this to 2020. Joe Biden was ahead in all of these polls. Now, of course, Donald Trump had a history, and he did again in 2020, of overperforming the polls. So even though the polls show Biden, crushing Trump, Trump overperformed his polls. And now we have, again, the New York Times saying that Trump is leading the national polling average by 1. So, very good news as we head into this debate. As always, all of this is my commentary, my analysis, and I would love to know yours in the comments below on any topic in this video. Specifically, what I'm interested to know your thoughts on are Harris's debate prep. Anything from her spice shop question, do you think she was serious about that? Or do you think it shows her lack of seriousness? Is she over preparing by trying to figure out how to shake hands with Donald Trump? What is there to strategize? Come on. If you haven't already, please be sure to give me a thumbs up. I know it's a simple thing to ask, but it really does help me in the algorithm to reach more viewers like you. Be sure to smash that subscribe button and to check out one of these videos.